You are now listening to Akashic Knowledge for Spiritual Growth and Transformation. Your host along this journey, Pleiades.
Peace and love, family, star family, galactic brothers and sisters from all throughout the multiverse. Thank you for tuning in to the Akashic Knowledge podcast, number 9, sacred number 9. And I am joined by my divine brother, Dox Diggla, right here. So if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, brother, it's an honor to have you on.
Well, I got a new thing I'm doing now. Anytime anybody asks me to introduce myself, I start by saying I am nothing. But according to this grid, to this plane, I'm known as Dox Diggla, artist, Brick City Buddha meditation teacher, community activist. This is kind of a jack of all trades in the spiritual practitioner lane, and artistry lane. So I'm just glad and honored to be here. You know, we connected when we did at the men's meetings that we sponsor at Above Our Studio. Shout out to Bars. Shout out to Brother Detox and all the men that come to those meetings. But me and you connected. How we walked down the street, we may have never even glanced at each other. We probably would have, though, because, you know, we in the same.
We would have picked up on each other's energy for sure.
But yeah, that space allowed brothers like me and you that to the world may look completely different, but are completely in alignment in a lot of different ways. So I'm just honored to be here, bro. I'm proud of you, everything you're doing.
Likewise, brother. The honor and love and appreciation for each other's work is absolutely mutual, man. Right. Like, we just continue to fuel each other, bro. And I'm very, very grateful to have someone like you in my, around the local area type of stuff. To even say that you in the same state doing this work, bro. It's truly God's work working through you. I see you as a pure vessel. I see the purity. I look in your eyes and I feel myself, and it's very, very undistorted reflection you are, bro. And I'm just very honored to have you on. And so I definitely found it very relevant to talk about the concept of meditation with you, bro, because that's obviously that's the main principle of which you teach. But beyond that, it pretty much saved your life. It saves your life. And I think that everyone listening would benefit tremendously from hearing a little bit of your story that you feel compelled to kind of express and share about how your journey has been with just spirituality in general. Because like you said, we don't necessarily seem aesthetically from the exterior environment, from the exterior as spiritual people, you know what I'm saying? Like, we could just appear as just about anybody. And I'm interested in having you express your journey with coming to where you're at in your spiritual journey.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's interesting that you start with that because I'm from Newark. I'm from East Orange. Right now I live in Orange. So when I wake up in the morning going into my meditations, trap blaring through the through the window every morning. So I'm glad I was able to hone my abilities out in Plainfield, a nice like a rural type of area, because when I was commissioned to come back and really go full throttle with bringing this back to my hood, I was prepared for that type of stuff. But being from Newark, New Jersey, growing up in can we curse on here?
Oh yeah, bro.
Okay. I always gotta ask that. I'm not a potty mouth, but I do always reference growing up in the hip hop era. We both dope hip hop artists. Growing up in the era of get money, fuck bitches. You know what I'm saying? And that's what we felt like we had to acquire, or the frequency we had to be in to be not only considered men, but to be valuable. Like, that's all we knew. And by any means necessary, bag as many women as you can, be attractive and valuable to women in some way, shape, or form, and get as much money as you can, no matter how you got to do that. So I grew up in a Christian household. By the time I was about 17, 18 years old, where I could make my own decisions, I kind of stopped messing with the church. And I had good times there. It was a time where even the hoodest of the hood, parent, most of them only had one parent, they still made them come to church. And it did kind of secure a foundation, like a structure of spirituality, even though I kind of branched away from it later on. I needed that. But coming out of that, my sister was the wild child of the family. And I did my dirt, but I was a little better at it than her. But she was out here.
Better at hiding it, and she was just out blatant with it.
Exactly. She just didn't care. But when she started going to church, on her own, she had found some new, youthful church. And when I heard that, I'm like, yo, if anybody could make her show up for God, I need to go see what this is about. So initially, I didn't care nothing about the church. I just needed to see for myself my sister on her own volition in somebody's
That's really
church.
funny, yo.
Right. And when I came to the first one, it was nothing but young people. I had never seen that before. The church I came up in, 50 and over was the average age. This new church, everybody was like in their teens, and like the exuberance, the passion, and how they worship, like I had never seen nothing like that. To make a long story short, we stayed there for a couple of years, but it wound up being like a cult. You know what I mean, so it damaged her in a lot of ways. She wound up getting pregnant with one of the brothers of the pastor's sons. Whole big thing. So it kind of like really tore me away from Christianity, and it like really made me skeptical. But through that, I started to really dig into the Bible and all different modalities of religion to see like what was true. Because at that point, she had made me read Behold the Pale Horse at like 9 years old. So I always had this understanding that there was more than meets the eye. And then with that experience, it was like, all right, let me figure out what's really going on. And that kind of sent me into a rabbit hole where I started to lose interest in school. I was in college at the time. I started to venture into the streets and spend a lot of time on pretty much some low-key kingpin shit that nobody really knew until our operation got ran down on. I was the only one who didn't get bagged. And then that turned me to, trying to go back to work and things of that nature. During this time, my kidney had conked out. 23 years old, I got diagnosed with 17% kidney functionality. I'm not supposed to be alive right now, according to the initial report. I was supposed to need dialysis, supposed to need a transplant. None of that happened. As a result, I went blind in my left eye. I was starting to go blind in my right. So all these different things just pushed me to the point where it's like, I got to figure out what's the point of this and how do I save my life pretty much. And a friend of mine who I was in a group with reached out to me. He had already taken this path, had his own meditation company, in a 5-week program of me getting these basic keys. It changed my whole trajectory, and it was like the impetus to where I'm at now. So that's the very short version, even though it's kind of long.
Powerful, man. So if you want to elaborate a little bit further, perhaps on like what types of, like, you sitting there half blind, almost fully blind, having like, a diagnosis saying that you got a very small amount of time to live, like what were your meditations like? Did you have any specific visualizations? Did you have any type of like books or something, or lecturers or something that specifically like brought you down a certain element of teaching? Like what was sort of like your, I would say, like regular routine in terms of like what type of influence, I guess you could say, went into your mindfulness cultivation during that time period?
Well, initially, great question. I don't think anybody's ever asked me that before, so great question. But initially, survival. And I find a lot of people, my clients now come to me, there's something out of whack in their life. And of course, we got to start at this place, but you get to the point where you see the ineffectiveness in taking that approach to source. But initially, I wanted a genie in a bottle. I wanted to be able to heal my kidney. I wanted to heal my eye and get my life right. I mean, which a lot of times we need that impetus. So initially, I was big into Montauk Chia, big into Qigong. The first book I read was The Art of Cosmic Vision. If anybody is dealing with vision problems, which is very prevalent right now with the age of technology and constantly looking at screens, what's going on with the electrical infrastructure. So I would definitely recommend that book, free PDF you could download. And also people like Yogi Bhajan, Osho, like all the regulars that people initially get into. And as I started to level up, I realized that this process is not about improving your humanhood. And that's something that I've recently read in a book by Robert Adams, Just the Satsang. It's like a 1,200-page book, but every single page is like soul-wrenching. And
what's it called again?
It's called Just the Satsang. Satsang means to sit in the self.
Yeah.
A lot of times when you go to India and it's these big yogis after meditation, they just sit there and have real talk.
Yeah, and like in the company of truth, I'm pretty sure
exactly,
it's the translation of it.
But true satsang is meditation itself, is sitting in yourself. But yeah, the name of the book is Just the Satsang. His name is Robert Adams. And he has a whole chapter on not taking this path to improve your humanhood. Because a lot of us want to kind of rub the genie and get gifts and get CDs and powers. And it's not really about that. And when you take that into your meditation, it really blocks you. All desire, all want eventually leads to suffering and blocks you from what these principles are really about, which is so far beyond just this physical vehicle, which is supposed to be appreciated and enjoyed, but it's supposed to be transcended. But initially, yeah, it was just I'm just trying to survive, trying to heal myself.
That makes a lot of sense, man. That's dropped a lot right there, man. You definitely dropped a lot to kind of like bring people towards this journey and whatnot.
Yeah.
So you teach meditation regularly for quite some time now. So
Yeah.
I'm interested in seeing like what are some of the, like, what has it been like for you guiding an individual who's completely foreign to meditation and spiritual practice as a whole? You know, seeing that journey of them going, like, say, like a religious background, any one of the religions, like not really having any type of familiarity with these spiritual meditations and stuff like that, just familiar with prayer, whatever the case may be. What might you go, like, how do you go about like bringing them towards meditation in a way that doesn't like completely contradict their belief systems that they currently hold, so much so that they push it off? And also, when you do that, what is like some of their, what has the experience been like to witness it? It's a pretty lengthy question, I know.
No, you asking questions I've never been asked before. Which is
Yo, I don't even have a list or nothing. I'm just,
I know. I
literally
already knew. Everybody always like, yeah, I'm gonna send you my questions. Like, yo, don't send me anything. But I knew you wasn't gonna do that. Great question again, and it's interesting because being in any urban environment, any hood around the country, even though it's a little bit further removed, and this generation has kind of broken down the walls of how religion is taught, especially Christianity, it's still pretty prevalent in our communities. So most of the people that come in the first time, regardless of their age, is still some type of Christian residue and boxing God into a sky daddy. So one of the first things I do, especially in my group sessions, because I have everything from children to elders that may have skipped church that day because somebody told them, you need to come to this kid's class. One of the first things I tell them is that yoga is not a religion, right? That this quote unquote modality, even that term, is just a vehicle for us to try to comprehend. It's just an open window to what you already are. Whether you want to call God Jesus, Buddha, Allah, I'm not interested in your belief system. I'm doing my job to allow source to direct me, to direct you into what you already are that you haven't paid attention to yet. Paid attention to your bills. Paid attention to your entertainment, to your food, to your interests, to your family and friends, but you haven't paid attention to what's paying attention to you so much that even when you go to sleep, it's watching you dream, for you to be able to come back and say, yo, girl, I had such and such. Who watched that? Who was sitting there watching your dream happen, that experience of what we call a dream happen? So when people start to understand that, they kind of let go of, well, this is not Christian, it's not what I'm used to, and they give it a shot. And pretty much, batting 1,000 at this point, I haven't had one person come to a class or a one-on-one session that felt like I didn't get anything out of this. And they may go back to church, it may make them stronger in their particular faith, but they at least understand, outside of just praying and giving it to a sky daddy, I got some juice in here too. And seeing their reactions, bro, like especially when we do like energy techniques and qigongs and things of that nature, and they like, yo, Dragon Ball Z is real. To see them kind of trip out, like, and to understand this is not just spiritual mumbo jumbo you saw in the Bruce Lee movie. Like, this energy has been waiting for you to pay attention to it your whole life. So to see that their eyes light up, especially in the children, I teach in Newark. A lot of them is in gangs, pretty much all of them. The women too, the girls too, is in gangs. So to see like that kind of frequency turn off for that hour while they with me, to the point where they'll come to me after class, yo, like, can you show me that again? They don't want the rest of their friends to see, but they'll come back like, yo, can you show me that again? It's been beautiful to watch, man. And like to end it off, the part I'm most proud about is my awareness that it's not me doing it. That I'm not the doer, I'm just the conduit of source to work through this vehicle that people see as docs. People will call me a teacher, a guide. One of the first things I say is, I'm not your guru. I'm not your guide. I'm not your teacher. I'm not here to heal you or save you. I'm the reflection you chose to express in this form to teach yourself, right? So that's the part I'm most proud of, maintaining that awareness and detachment from me feeling like I'm doing anything.
Absolutely, brother. You touched up on such vital things there, man. Such gold in that response right there. Of course, bro. One of the biggest things is like making that distinction clear between like prayer and meditation, because there's they're so close.
Yeah,
there's such a slight distinction, between them that makes all the difference between, like you said, praying and giving your power up externally, and meditating and directing all of that toward, you can still hear me, right? My computer.
Yeah, you good. I got you.
Good. Just making sure my connection's good. But yeah, recognizing that power and everything that you're like, oh, please God, heal me, please God, let me have money, please God, whatever, rather than directing all of that externally, you can still do a quote unquote prayer, but direct that to a higher aspect of yourself, recognizing it is you. That's really all it is when you you can still do so much of the religious, ceremonies and rituals and practices and all the things that the religions teach are originated in deeper, like ancient meditation practices. They all originated from the same texts, and then they got distorted over time to detach you and disconnect you from your inner power, and thinking that that higher aspect of yourself that is able to orchestrate the manifestation of our reality that's not you. If you knew that you were that powerful, you wouldn't need to kiss the toes of the government. You feel me? So making people aware of that, but not necessarily like drilling it in them, like, your religion got distortion in it. You don't even touch on it. You're like, religion ain't even something in the conversation. We're just showing you and I love how you said as well, like, who's watching your dreams? Your conscious awareness shuts off all night, but something is watching your dreams for you to wake up and remember it. So like bringing it down to like something that everybody experiences, and like not even like really bringing into the conversation all the aspects that would like trigger people's belief systems and stuff, just bringing it into a tangible thing that everyone experiences and that they can get a different perspective of. That's a really good way to open somebody's mind to something.
Thank you, bro. Yeah, it's been super effective too. And then like, even with me understanding Christianity so much, like I was a minister in training. When I had went to that church, I was so inspired. Like that's what really sparked my devotion, my bhakti, my love for God, even though I was still figuring out what God was. I decided to be a minister in training between 17 and 19. I was going around preaching. This is the height of my virility as a young man. You know what I mean? I'm fresh in college, women coming at me left and right. I'm not doing nothing. So I'm able to say, well, your own book, if people kind of push back against it, your own book says we were created in his image. Your own book, your own Jesus says, greater works will thou do, right? You wake up every morning and there's a power that's inside your body where you don't have to consciously say, let me turn on my heart. Let me tell heart to start pumping. Let me tell, it just happens. There's a supreme intelligence, even just if you want to keep it physical, within your own body. Layers upon layers of miracles just for us to exist, sit in these chairs and look at each other. But these are things people don't think about until they start to tap in. So just, hitting them with those little quick ones, like, you know what? Brother got a point. I mean, it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah, absolutely, yo. And I feel like the best way to really like cement this understanding with the people is by experience. You feel me? You can read it in a book all day long, or you can even have someone say it to you all day long who knows the genuine truth. But to experience it, that's when these people who are so unfamiliar with these types of things, they get in they come to one of your classes, they experience the things that you're doing, and then, all the energy is amplified. You know what I'm saying? Every consciousness multiplies each other instead of adding. The summation is like greater than the sum of its parts when you get in groups like that. So, for them to just experience that contagious energy, something that they can't necessarily explain, something they never really encountered before. That's when they start to get their minds just like brought open, because they're like, I can't even, I gotta look into this. I don't got any explanation for it.
My hair's still standing up on my arm. Like, what's going on? Yeah.
Straight up. And also like, recognizing the element of humility in the practice, man. That's a big thing. I was just talking to a sister at a retreat I was at yesterday about that, about like, especially as we come as like, influencers, teachers, whatever the case that people label us as, what I'm saying? As we continue to do this divine work, quite frankly, we're going to continue to reach more people and allow source to work through us and influence more people. And people are going to very quickly attach to putting us on a pedestal. You know what I'm saying? So that humility is very, very essential towards like allowing the truth to work through you with as little distortion as possible, you know, because people are, when they need a reminder that, yo, I'm you, you know, I'm not, it don't matter this whole linear timeline of spiritual journey that you're comparing me against. That's all fucking human concepts that are just abstractions of reality. The reality that is beyond that is that I am a reflection of you, exactly like you said, that you manifested for your higher self to deliver information to you for your evolution through me. And for you to like remind people that in your own way. Like I always say that same stuff, you know, you said when I, you know, at the beginning when I asked you who you are, you're like, I'm nothing. Like, you know, same thing when people ask me who I am, I say, I'm you. That's that. It was my Instagram bio for the longest time. I just recently changed it to something else, but like it's reminding people that humility and stuff like that. And you know, to bring that into a question, like fucking, have you ever encountered? Well, I'm sure you have. So like, you know, experiencing a time where somebody did put you on a pedestal, and how did you go about like kind of showing them like, nah, like everything I'm able to do, you literally have within you? Like how would you recommend somebody who's, say, like an influencer or something like that, who's starting to reach a lot of people, to kind of like express that truth in a way that is digestible to people, like the common person?
Well, I will reference something called the golden chain. And the golden chain is pretty much like when I first was compelled or got the download to teach, I was reluctant. I didn't want to teach. I got my piece. I was actually starting to heal my body. This stuff was working. I was in a period of like 2 years of intense solitude. I say on one of my songs coming on my album called Alone, the only human contact I had was going to get Dutches, going to get weed, and going to get groceries, and speaking to the cashiers. There was no more women. My 13-year relationship had disintegrated. All my brothers, who I thought was really my brothers, had disappeared. My family didn't live here. Fired from my 5th straight job, still on disability. So I'm literally looking at 4 walls pretty much the whole day. And the only thing I was able to fill that time and that space with was meditation. So I was out here in the forest like 8 hours a day before I was able to build this community and say, you know what, I'm gonna take this download and I'm gonna show up and teach this class. And one person showed up. Now we're here with hundreds of people turning out. But at that period of time when I was studying the Yogi Bhajans and the Oshos, and even my own teacher, Honors Yoga, shout out to honorsyoga.com as well, Jay English, he was like my initiator, if you will. He taught me the 5-week course. But at that time I was looking up to everybody, and everybody quote unquote above my knowledge, my awareness. And when I got the download to teach, the main thing that was stopping me was, well, I don't know as much as them. Like, how could I even dare get out here and try to say? And when I finally did the first class, she broke down. It was Ashanti King. I'm gonna always shout her out. She broke down afterwards, said it was like the most beautiful experience she had ever had. And I realized at that moment, it wasn't necessarily about having the knowledge that Osho had or being able to say it like Yogi Bhajan or Sadhguru. It was the fact that what I got from them, I'm now, and that golden chain, they got it from somebody all the way back down to Patanjali. Where I am, somebody needs exactly how I received it and how I can administer it, right? And when I do my part of the golden chain and I give it to them, I've seen the same situation happen that I received, and it go on and on down the line. So one of my favorite quotes when I was at the spiritual retreat, one of the practitioners said that your ancestry, your lineage, your family line, your friendship line is your umbilical cord, from your current expression of source that you call you, all the way back to source itself before the Big Bang started and all that, when source was just chilling in nothingness, as it still is. But understanding that golden chain, there's no longer a hierarchy. There's no longer a reason to compare, to put on pedestal, to badmouth. Everything is the same energy expressing in completely different ways. And you start to understand that beyond anything technical and esoteric, God is just playing. This particular universe out of the multiverse, where there's other rules and all type of stuff going on that we don't even think about. This is literally just a cosmic dance. God playing through me, through Pleiades, through all the people listening, and infinite diversity. When you understand that, there's no reason for exaltation or degradation.
Oh, absolutely, man. That's the thing right there, is recognize. That's a big thing when you experience the same thing I experienced, and I feel like the same thing, you know, most people, if not everyone, experiences as they start to get in the process of like sharing whatever it is that their creative expression is of, you know, expressing creator, quite frankly.
Right.
And that's like, I don't know as much, or I'm not as good as this other person who's been doing it for
Right.
X amount of years, and you know what I'm saying? The comparison. And that just comes into comparing yourself to somebody is just a reflection of a mindset that is rooted in separation, because you think that you're not them. So exactly like you said, I've never heard that about the golden chain before. That's golden. Yeah, I love that. I love that very much. It's like you know, passing on the torch type of deal. You know, like just having this long umbilical cord of current of energy going through everyone. Right. And everyone plays an integral part in it. You know what I'm saying? The goal is to get everyone a part of this golden chain. Not to be like, oh, this person got the golden chain because they credentials X, Y, Z, whatever the fuck. You know, so like really like reminding people, because you're never teaching nobody anything. You already know this. You know, everybody knows everything. They just forgot. It's just a matter of reminding their soul what they already know. And like you know, reminding everybody like, yo, you're not, here's the word I was looking for. You play an integral part in the line of expressing source truth to fuel evolution through your unique vessel, of which can never be multiplied. Your unique expression is something.
You understand what that's doing in my system right now? How you put that? That's crazy. That's beautiful, but that's exactly what it is, bro. Sheesh.
Exactly, man. That was just the golden chain working through me, bro. I can't even take credit for that. Like
I had to close my eyes. Did you see me close my eyes? I know I got a little slick, but
I did, bro. I felt that. I didn't even have to look. I felt you fucking tuning in. You were like, he's really going on tangent here. I'm trying to. Oh man, yeah, it's just divine, brother. So have you had like any specific? You know, I know you know many techniques of meditation and visualization and stuff like that, but in terms of like just one general meditation and or visualization technique that you would recommend to like any beginner, or not even beginner, just anyone to just pick up and do on any random part of their day type thing, like if there's any one of your favorites that you'd recommend.
I would keep it super simple. I'm at the point in my journey where I still appreciate technique. But kind of like we was talking about in the last question, I have noticed, I'm sure you have noticed, that there's a certain level of competition with God right now among spiritual practitioners. And we're doing spiritual acrobatics, who can stand on their head the longest, who can generate the most prana and all this different stuff, right? And eventually that's still going to lead us to where we need to be anyway. So I don't knock that either. But I'm at the point where I'm experimenting more with the arm of yoga called jhana, or Ghana, and that's the path of self-analysis, also known as Atma Vichara, and it's called the lightning path, because it's not really based on 10,000 hours of asanas and all these different things. They actually kind of perceive any technique you could possibly do is still coming from the framework of mind, and this journey is about going beyond the mind. So there's still a time where you kind of need the training wheels of technique. But if I would suggest anything, a lot of what I'm doing in my classes right now is outside of a specific technique. So I would give this, I call it watching the movie of your mind, right? Self-cinema. And I use two different analogies that a lot of people say resonate with them. One is almost like when you close your eyes to do 5 minutes a day. Just start out with 5 minutes a day. You close your eyes. The average human being thinks between 55, 75 thoughts per minute, about 80,000 thoughts a day. And this is part of why our awareness of ourselves is hunkered down into this piece of flesh that can only see through the spotlight of my current experiences and the experiences surrounding this moment, my current thoughts, the thoughts surrounding this moment. And it's a peephole vision into consciousness, not knowing all of this is out here, right? So when you just start to give yourself this distance and become a witness to the thoughts, don't do anything special. All you got to do is not attach, right? So any thought can come. People think freedom of thought is your thoughts all of a sudden just stop. Mind is always going to do what mind is doing, right? It's still a piece of the self. When they come, you notice it, allow it to pass. You don't attach to it. You don't build a story on top of it. Like a lot of times in meditation, hunger will come up, especially if it's people's first time. And the thought of hunger arises, and before you know it, you done built your next meal. You're sitting down, in your mind, you're sitting down having lunch at your favorite restaurant while you're supposed to be in meditation, and 10 minutes later, it's like, oh shit, I didn't hear nothing you just said, right? So not building a story when the thought comes, just allow it to come. Allow it to go. Don't fight it out. Don't try to influence your mind not to think. Once you got that going, the other analogy I use is almost like when you go to the airport, you're coming back from vacation, the luggage is going around a conveyor belt. Imagine your thoughts are on that conveyor belt. Just choose not to pick up the luggage, right? Just start to do either one of those type of analogies to get you to develop distance from the mind and thoughts. Do either one of those 5 minutes a day. Just watch the conveyor belt or walk into the movie of your mind, sit down and be a witness.
Those are very powerful, man. And the reason why they're so powerful is because they're so simple.
Exactly.
And I really, really, really like tremendously how you touched up upon the fact that really techniques are just the training wheels to get you to just experience, like closing your eyes and experiencing source.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like at the end of the day, you don't see fucking like all the yogis going like, and like all these, like they literally just like,
yep.
You know, they in samadhi right there. Like they just, you know, they just drop right in. And exactly like you said, there ain't nothing wrong with techniques, you know, because they are getting you to the same place. But it's like there is a time where the training wheels come off and you just drop right into it and stuff like that. And then you just, you know, you feel like you float in. You know, it's so funny because like, I just thought about the sensation of floating and like, you know, when you like 40 minutes, 50 minutes deep in a meditation and you just, you know, you're floating, you're literally floating, you're light, you don't have density, you know the feeling I'm trying to describe. I used to
what you, there's no you at that point, like
yo seriously, you start to just dissociate from the body and you know you're already dissociated from the mind, and then the dissociation from the body happens and you physically start to experience like some psychedelic like state, just straight up sober, just, you know, it's really profound. And I used to feel that as a kid, like on and off throughout my childhood, right? And you know, I wasn't sitting here meditating as a fucking kid, but like I would feel that at certain times in my life, my childhood, I can remember getting a sense of that. Like I almost felt like I was a balloon. Like I was a balloon filled with air and I was light and I was gently floating. That's the best way that I was ever able to like conceptualize it. And you know, I'm talking from the age of like 7 up until I was like, until I was like maybe 18 or 19, when I was able to really identify what the actual fucking was. And like, you know, and it really was what I just described, you know, accessing deep state. It wasn't until I was around 18, 19 that I got deep enough into a meditation to actually like deliberately trigger that experience rather than having it just, you know, haphazardly happen to me and stuff like that. And that was just that was a bit, when I accessed that state and then I realized, I was like, this is literally what I've been feeling since I was a kid. That moment of realization just put so much shit in perspective. And I feel like a lot of other people experience things like that, where it's like, you know, you experience these states from childhood specifically that are like actually attuned with our psychic abilities, attuned with source consciousness, attuned with the extrasensory perception, intuitive, enhanced, you know, perception, all these types of things that we experienced a lot as a kid that we start to push aside because no one else is experiencing it, because we don't have an explanation for it, because if we mention it to our parents, they're like, nah, little Johnny, you just bugging. You know what I'm saying? You had a little bit too much sugar today or something like that, or something like that. And then as we start to get further along our path, we instantly remember and realize and put together all those things that we were experiencing as a kid were actually us experiencing more unified states with source. And like, you know, as a kid, you didn't need no technique, you know, you just were source. You feel me? Kids are more pure expressions of source. Just the only reason they're more pure is because they're less conditioned and they're less distorted from the, you know, programming that's been embedded in them. And that's why I always tell people, and you know this, and that's why I'm so glad that you're a fucking parent, bro. Like, you know, because when a child is born, they're your guru, they're your teacher, they're source, they're God incarnate here to fucking show you, not the other way around. And but yeah, to bring it back to what you were talking about, I already kind of touched up on the fact that it's just a training wheels, and that's really it. Just really emphasizing and bringing home the fact that you don't need any specific technique. All you need is the breath. You know, like really bringing meditation back down to its roots, what it really is. Because, you know, I know you know as well as me that along this path there are spiritual teachers and teachings that go around that can make meditation seem like it's this complicated quantum science and shit, and that you gotta really like dissect and get like study like a freaking like an actual field of science. And it's, you know, there are things that you can do like that. Yes, there are absolutely avenues that you can traverse down to experience very intense states and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, if you able to close your eyes, you know, relax, preferably straighten your spine if possible, and just breathe, like those simple things. All it just comes down to is just breath, because breath is what unifies the dualities, you know, bringing it as simple, making people really anchor home, like, you know, breath is the key to accessing duality, because it's where both polarities merge. The only space that you can experience positive and negative is in between the center of both. You know, if your breath is where you experience both dualities, and bringing people to realize, you know, and I really like that one of the meditations that you depicted was about a movie theater, because you know, something that I always like to like relay is kind of like a way of understanding the way that our reality works is it's like a movie theater projector. You know, like we're witnessing the movie theater, but the actual reality is on the projector. So the only way that you're able to experience the eternal reality is in the center of the projector and the projection. You know what I'm saying? You're able to be centered amidst both. If you get too far in one polarity, you're going to be immersed in it and you're not going to be able to see the other one, and vice versa. So it's in the stillness when you just, and that's another thing, really just stillness itself. When you still the body is the subconscious mind, you know. So when you still the body, the mind automatically
has no
follows.
choice.
Exactly.
No choice.
So even if you are a beginner and you drop into meditation and your body is physically still at first, but your mind is still, you know, you over here making your whole meal and all that type of stuff that people be doing, like, you know, you're thinking all these thoughts. If you just sit long enough without moving, and you fight that temptation and you recognize that you just are the observer and really embody that, just being a rock like stillness, that's one of the best ways that I've personally had, like, you know, along my journey, like progress with like accessing deeper states of meditation and just allowing the thoughts to just fade away on their own. And also the fact that, you know, you touched up on it as well, don't resist the thoughts. You know, you resisting the thoughts, being like, oh no, I shouldn't be thinking that. You saying I shouldn't be thinking that. Exactly. And
that's going to take you down a whole nother wormhole.
Fueling it. So like, you know, just allowing, bro. And I love the way that you know, because I've had the honor of having you as a meditation instructor at our last source gathering, and you know that I witnessed how you relay source and how you teach it and stuff like that. And it's you know, you have a very captivating way of just emphasizing like allowing, you know, allowing yourself to just be immersed in your natural state of being, and recognizing that all the resistance is the only reason that you're separated from it. So releasing
and that's perfect, because like you said, with just being still, we do a lot of techniques. We live in Shavasana a lot of times in my class. That's everybody's favorite anyway. So I do my best to work with people where they are, with what they can relate to. So when we go into Shavasana, before I even go into any technique or visualization or guidance, if you will, the first thing I have them do is watch a few different things that always happens, especially your first times, right? All of a sudden, every inch of your body is going to burst into a burning itch. You're going to want to scratch things that you haven't thought about scratching in 10 years, and all of a sudden your body is on fire. Like, yo, I got to scratch everything, right? So the first thing I tell them to do is watch that, right? And usually it takes a few minutes, because the mind is tricky until you guide it to laying down with you. So the mind will say, well, I'm not used to this position, so I'm gonna fire off all these sensory perception information. And I know when that sensation comes up, they're gonna scratch it. That's gonna turn into, damn, I'm not a good meditator. That's gonna turn into, I can't get nothing right. Well, I can't, a whole wormhole all from just an itch. So the first thing I tell them is it's gonna take a few minutes of assertion and reassertion, meaning when the itch comes, or the compulsion to want to wiggle a finger or wiggle a toe, we like little kids lay on the floor. We can't sit still, right? Even though we want to just sit still all the time. We want to lay up as adults because we go so hard. So I tell them to give themselves a few moments. The first few times you're gonna honor the compulsion. You're gonna scratch. You're gonna wiggle the finger. It's okay. Just allow your attention to continue to reassert to, I'm going to not scratch this next one. And eventually the mind kind of sifts into that, and it's going to come more intense than it ever came. That itch is going to feel like it's burning a hole in you, but at that point you're like, you know what, I'm going to challenge myself. I'm not going to scratch this. And within seconds, the compulsion completely fades. And then all of a sudden, it feels like the flesh on your bones is starting to melt into the floor. All of a sudden you feel that magnetic pull. It's like, oh snap, I'm actually kind of still right now. You know what I'm saying? And then, you know, of course, that's like the porch, the front door to like really go into those deeper states. But just working with yourself where you are and going easy on yourself. And like you said, understanding that this is a simple process. The main thing it takes is just patience and understanding. Like I always say, you can't go into a gym, throw up 1,000 pounds. You're gonna have to work your way up to that. So initially understand it may take me a few seconds, take you a few seconds. It's probably gonna take you a few minutes to relax into that state. Don't let the mind trick you in that first minute and think you can't do it. Give yourself the few minutes, you'll get right there like everybody else.
Yes, bro, that's a very, very, very powerful one, because the itch is a big thing. And another big thing that goes with just what you were saying was, you know, I get all the time, people like, yo, I hear you getting these like long meditations. How do your feet not like get amputated? You feel me? And it's like, it goes with exactly, you know, what you're saying. You know, when you put your feet, you don't even got to go in no lotus. Like I personally just go in the half lotus. You ain't got to go full lotus. You could just sit cross-legged, you know, like you were saying, Savasana, you can just sit laid completely down. But like specifically with like, you know, when you're sitting meditation and your feet are starting to get uncomfortable, they're feeling that tingly. My deepest meditations, like when I feel my, you know, at first I'm meditating, my feet are fine, stuff like that. You know, it varies dependent upon like certain factors. But like once my feet start to like, you know, be like, yo, I need to stretch right now. You feel me? Like that's really what they're feeling. Mm-hmm. That's when I know I'm like, all right, the deep states are coming.
Exactly.
You know, exactly. Yep. Because then it's like, all right, I'm accessing a point where my body is sending me like neural activity to kind of give me the opportunity, not the obstacle, the opportunity to get deeper. Mm-hmm. And when people really come face to face with that, that's when you realize, you know, when you completely allow the sensations, you allow yourself to detach from the sensations of your body. And the biggest thing is people think, oh, this ain't good for my blood circulation. Your leg's gonna be fine. Your leg's gonna be fine. You go bring it out of it. You go smack it a couple times. Wait 30 seconds to a minute, and then it's gonna come back, and you're gonna be fine. You know, it's like really embedding that into people. Your leg ain't gonna get amputated. These are all things that the mind conjures up and stuff like that. Do some research on it to clear your conscience if you want. Your leg gonna be fine. So when you get past that and you surrender into, what were you about to say?
Nah, funny story. Like one of my first times going into a very long, deep meditation. Like you said, you get to that point, and I had been meditating enough to kind of know. Like you said it perfectly. I'll call it like the entering consciousness sign. Like when you're about to enter a new town. You know, like, all right, I'm getting to these points where things are starting to ache. I've probably been in this longer than I ever have. And I knew at that point that everything is a wave. No matter pain, pleasure, every sensation, experience, thought is going to come and go. As long as you don't glue yourself to it, you don't feed it, it will dissipate. So knowing that, I just went a little longer. So I thought a little longer. I wound up in meditation for about an hour and change, like my first time. And when I came out, the pain I felt in my legs had dissipated for a good 30 minutes. But as soon as I came back to it, it was like, bruh. So I'm slowly pulling my legs apart, and it felt like I had broke my leg. It was just out of the joint. I hadn't been in that position that long. So I'm like looking at my leg like, bruh, if I hit my leg right now, my leg gonna fall off. But I just hit it back into the joint. I was able to put it down a few minutes. I mean, the energy dissipated, but yeah, you're gonna be fine, bro. You're gonna be fine.
Yeah, for real. Like it's as soon as you detach from that uncomfortability, the bliss comes. You literally get hit with waves of euphoria. Waves. Your whole body just hit with waves of just like, you know, like, whoo, whoo. Like, you know, you're just like, it's really crazy, yo. Like how once you start to get in the deeper states, you really do just feel bliss. Like all around. And it really is like, you know, ending that 30 minutes of meditation type shit, maybe a little bit longer, maybe even a little bit shorter. It depends upon the individual. But like once I get past like the 30-minute mark of just complete and utter stillness, and that's the key to it, is like, you know, exactly like you're saying, not honoring those you know, compulsions, and just like allowing yourself to be the observer, watch the itch instead of scratching the itch, and just allowing that stuff to happen. That's when, you know, you really worded it perfectly, bro. That's like the gateway into unity.
One more thing, anybody that listens to this, it goes both polarities. So just like we're suggesting, pointing to the fact that don't attach to the pain, don't attach to the bliss either. Don't attach to the pleasure either, because then the mind is going to use that as fuel. Like, okay, I need more of that in this session, and let's say you get more of it. The next time you go in, if that sensation doesn't come, you're gonna feel like, all right, well, why am I meditating? And that's not what meditation is about. There's an excerpt of, I think, the Justice Satsang book, where one of Sri Ramana's, he's a famous yogi, y'all could go check him out, prevalent in the 50s and 60s. But Sri Ramana had an ashram, and there was like another top yogi in India that came to him and, you know, just visited him and broke bread and, you know, compared stories. So he would, you know, he had kind of like a hubris about him, because he would say, you know, Shiva shows me all these different worlds and dimensions and all these different colors. And so when he got to the end of that, you know, Sri just shaking his head, smiling. So he asked Sri, so what do you see? And Sri said, I don't see anything, right? And initially, like, it made the guy feel like even that much, oh, like the great Sri, I see more than him. And he went away and he came back, he said a few months later, and he said, Sri, I understand why you said I don't see anything. Because even those states, if you will, a state comes and goes. What you're accessing is what never comes and goes. What always will be, always remains, is not born, is not dead. So anything that can come and go is not the totality of it. So whether it's a pleasure or pain, don't glue yourself to any of it. Just stay the course.
That's exactly what it is. Recognizing what you're here to experience. You're not here to experience the you know, the transient manifestations of creation. You're here to experience creator. You're here to experience the totality of it, you know, just immersing yourself with unity, with source, with God, with whatever you want to call it. This, you know, really like cementing in that intentions, you know, like not doing meditation for what you could gain from it, not for the pleasures, not for even the healing aspects, you know what I'm saying? Even if you are doing it to say, heal your body, heal your mind, heal your emotions, heal your trauma, whatever the case may be, really anchoring in, like, yes, that may be a byproduct of my devotion with spirit. And
if you look at a lot of the top yogis, a lot of the guys I'm mentioning, at different portions and stages of their life, often large durations of their life, they were under a lot of physical ailments, bodies breaking down. Some of them would incur the karma of humanity and be diseased for long periods of the time, but they were so detached from the body and able to live in a state of samadhi. What happened to the body didn't matter to them, and everybody else look at them like, oh, you, like, I need to pray for you. What do you, like, oh, I'm good. Like, this is just my little car. Like, my car is beat up. I'm over here with it. Like,
oh man, that's a good way of putting it, bro. I love that analogy, man. Like, you know, this is just a car. We just driving cars, you know. Once this car breaks down, you hop into a new whip. You know, it might take you a while to work out the finances and do the planning, but you know what I'm saying. But you're gonna get a new whip, and that's really what it is, bro. But yeah, man, we starting to reach the end of this here, so I just kind of wanted to see if we got any finishing words you feel like you want to express. And then of course I want you to plug in all ways that people could connect with you, find your work and things like that.
All right, so as far as my work, they can find me at brickcitybuddha.com is my website. That's brick, how it's spelled, C-I-T-I instead of C-I-T-Y, and then Buddha, B-U-D-D-H-A, brickcitybuddha.com. They can find me at brickcitybuddha on Instagram, _ between brick and city and Buddha. Dr. Diggla on Facebook. That's pretty much all the social media platforms I'm on. I don't got time for Twitter and TikTok. I'm old, man. And then as far as like a last thing I would say, was kind of alluding to it in the last segment, is I say it like this. Whoever's listening to this, I want you to look around the room, right? Open your eyes, looking around the room, and start to pick out what objects you see. This is something I've been doing with my class lately. And people will say, I see a wall, I see lights, I see furniture, all these different things that may be in your space. But nobody says space. Nobody says I see the space in between the objects that is actually the most dense part of our physical existence. And it's almost like the real glue in between what we perceive as me over here, Pleiades over there, or wherever you may be. When you understand that that space is alive underneath it, looking invisible to you, that is still energy in that, divine force is still flowing through that, you start to realize you are the wall, you are the ceiling, right? And the space in, I need to meditate to get to a certain point, that space doesn't exist. You are already source. You just chose to express in the diversity of forgetting you are source to have even more appreciation for what you already are. So when you meditate, you don't got to go find God. Even when you're in there, let go of the nobility of, I'm looking for God. You already are that. I am that.
I don't think we could have ended it on a more harmonious note, brother. For real. We really are already everything that you are trying to accomplish, that you are trying to realize, that you're trying to align with. You recognizing that you are everything already in its totality, allows you to step into that same power that creates galaxies, universes, people, everything. You step into that power when you recognize that you are that power. So that's a very powerful exercise right there, brother. I'm very grateful that you shared it with us.
And then free classes every Wednesday. Check me out on Brick City Buddha to see my class schedule, my counseling services, one-on-one meditation services. But I got free class every Wednesday, 6:15 a.m. Butt crack of dawn, but there's a reason for that. There's something called Amrit Vela, which means the nectar of the morning. So between 3 and 7, which I'm sure Pleiades already knows, it's a very heightened, energetic time. So we use that time, 6:15 and 6:45, only half an hour, start your day beautifully. And then our next in-person event, Peace in the Park, just went off crazy 2 weeks ago. So the people asked us to bring it back. We already at about 160 tickets sold. We're probably gonna cap it at about 250. So June 28th, South Mountain Reservation, West Orange, New Jersey. We still got tickets available, white, black, all races, colors, creeds, sexual beliefs. We're gonna have yoga, meditation, dance, house music, vegan food, good vibes, nature. Holla at me, hit up my pages to see the information for that, and please come out.
Beautiful, brother. Can't emphasize enough how much I honor and love and appreciate the work that you do for community, bro. And I'm so grateful to be on this path with you, to be collaborating with you, working with you, just letting source work through us and reach the people, brother. Yeah. So thank you for hopping on. We're gonna definitely be in contact, working together in the future and stuff like that. So yeah, all the information that you were shouting out, if you send me the links, I'm gonna have them in the description of this video. Gonna be on YouTube, and then the podcast gonna be on Spotify, Buzzsprout, and SoundCloud. So I'm gonna put the description with all the links up there. So if y'all want any part of everything he was talking about, I'm gonna have links for it. So once again, brother, I'm grateful for you hopping on.
Love you, bro. I miss you. We'll get back to monthly men's meeting soon.
I miss you too, bro. We're gonna definitely link up very soon.
Facts. Love and light, y'all. All right.
Love and light, bro. It's been an honor.